All right, I'm fresh from Anaheim, California. I attended the VidCon conference, and this is a conference geared to content creators. And believe it or not, we're all content creators, whether you make YouTube videos or not. There's always some sort of content that you are putting out there for your business. So I wanted to unpack all the things that I learned during this multi-day conference. And I attended various classes talking about how to use AI, how to think about your thumbnails, and just general marketing stuff that I wanted to pass along to you, just in case you were interested in kind of the latest and greatest in this world of content creation. So, number one, lead with curiosity. This was an overarching thought on all the different classes that I was attending, and that you want to be very clear, very concise, and have whatever text messaging like that you're putting over a text overlay on your video content or your messaging, you want it visually matched up. Very dynamic visuals paired with your text is going to grab someone's attention and stop scrolling. This is very important when you're on platforms that are more scroll. So think of Instagram, TikTok, and even if you're into shorts on YouTube, all those platforms that you are constantly scrolling through, that pairing is going to set you up for success. Speaking of that, for the scrolling platforms, your first 3 to 5 seconds is where you have to try to capture your audience to have them watch through. If you're doing longer format like YouTube, that first 10 seconds is still the critical piece of time to get someone to watch the video. So with that, you won't want to have a long drawn out, hi, I'm so-and-so, welcome to my, you already lost the person. Get to the point, be concise, clear, and have a visual that kind of brings them in. So that's with like that lead with curiosity. A subset of that is how do you do that? So I have 2 tips for you here. One, ask a question. So when you ask a question, the person viewing, if they're interested in that question, they want to know the answer. So they will watch through the video. Another way is transformation. So if you are a maker, if you're a photographer, no matter what business that you're in, you probably have a process for something. So showing someone beginning, middle, and end in a dynamic way, people will want to watch that transformation. Just like all the food videos and baking videos or woodworking videos, you want to see what they create at the end. So those are 2 great ways to kind of utilize this concept. And I actually have been testing this since I've been back. So I created, I will link to an Instagram post that I did where I was like asking a question, and I had a great reach for this one particular reel using all these methodologies. So I'll leave that in the description below if you're interested. Okay, so lead with curiosity. The next thing, number 2, is that hook. Now, you've probably heard this before. I've heard it before where you have to have that strong hook. And that's really that text that I mentioned before, whether it's typically if it's an overlay on your video, that's what's grabbing their attention. The actual question or what you're making. Like you see a lot now of, you see POV and then whatever it is. That's that hook that someone's going to stop. And in the link that I have below, you'll see how that plays out. All right, so then we talk about just general marketing things that I was noticing. It wasn't a class, but as just a business person, I was taking note of how all these creatives and the people that were panelists, how they were presenting themselves, how they were utilizing different marketing tools for their own business. And I had 2 tips here. One, most people had very strong brand portraits, so I loved seeing that. I could clearly tell when someone was using just an iPhone selfie. So if you were on a panel and everyone on the slide deck had professional photos, you definitely would stand out of not having like the strongest photo. So having that visual representation of you and you're on this great panel, you definitely want to have a strong brand portrait. The second thing, which I was excited to see, was that it was so smart. This one presenter, he has millions of followers, and in his slide deck at the end, he had this huge QR code for everyone in the audience, because everyone was taking pictures of all his slide decks, to take a picture and sign up for his email newsletter. Because you always have your followers, but if that platform goes out or fails or isn't the hot place right now, you can't reach those people. But if they're on your email list, that is gold. So I thought it was so fascinating that here we are, we're talking about followers and subscribers, but here he is, he's building his email list. So I loved that, and that was such a great way. So if you are doing a presentation and you want to grab some people on your email list, this was great. Okay, so then so that was number 3. Number 4 was thumbnails for videos. And if you're doing YouTube videos, we all know how critical it is. And I thought I knew enough to have decent video, like thumbnail clips. But boy, they're still super important. And this one presenter really did a great job breaking down just things to think about, contrasting colors, the different perspective of the image that you're using, something super close up or super far away, using leading lines. I was loving this because I'm really paying attention to my thumbnails, and I realize although I've sort of done an overhaul, I need to do it again. So I'm going to show you here what I'm testing right now. I've done some updates, and you can just see how I'm just clarifying that message that goes back to point number 1, like lead with curiosity, be very clear and very concise. And that's what I'm using, like a dynamic image that I might have, really hone in on what the whole purpose of the video is. And so that's what I'm going to be testing on my thumbnails. So I can really lead with those, and then also tweak any description like titles that I need. So that title and thumbnail is still so critical to getting visibility on YouTube. And another piece was research. So that's tip number 4. Wow. When everyone asked about where do you generate ideas, all the different panels that I went to, I gathered a little list of places that people go. 1, they will be inspired by what's trending in YouTube, which I thought was interesting. Many of these huge pages are going to what's trending and seeing, okay, I could do that, but with my own twist. So they're grabbing on something that's like really indexing high and doing their own twists, which I loved. But people are also going to Reddit and doing searches on their industry and topics and seeing what's popped up. Because another area of ideas is if there's common problems, or I know I've used like frequently asked questions, and that's where you can really gather a list of what those problems or questions, or where people get stuck on whatever industry that you're in. So I thought that was fascinating. And then just using Google search as well. Here's one tip for that research piece. On mobile, when you're on YouTube, you can click on turn on like incognito. So when you go incognito, when you search into YouTube, you're now like a guest. So all that history, if you just went on to as yourself and like started searching, all that history isn't playing a role. So it's like a clean slate. So when you type in your industry or problem or a topic, that's really going to be a great indicator, and look at that list that pops up as you're typing up to give you some ideas for videos. platforms. One person was talking about how maximize all the platforms that you use. So if you have that short, maybe it works well with Instagram. Maybe you can make it a little bit longer for Instagram, make it shorter for TikTok. And with that piece also, there was talk about LinkedIn adding more video in the near future. All right, so the conference was great. So much information. I'm going to start testing and plugging these tips and tricks into my own process. And if you loved all this marketing material and tips, I'm going to link to a marketing video that I have specific to brand photographers so we can keep this going, growing our businesses. But if you do have questions, feel free to let me know. All right, see you there.